Oh, mama. Alright, what is up everybody? Welcome back. I'm Diggins71. My name is Dylan. And today's going to be a little bit crazy because overnight I've decided to take the truck up to Truck Wars in Macon, Georgia. It's going to be at Middle Ga Motorsports Park, and some of the absolute baddest, nastiest, fastest, craziest, most sandbagging trucks I've ever met in my entire life are going to be there. So I know a bunch of these guys through the internet. I know a bunch of them through Instagram and Facebook, various groups. But these guys are the real deal. All truck shootout. I'm going to go put my truck in the DOT full-size shootout. Probably going to be class filler, but it is what it is. Before we do that, there's lots and lots of things that I got to have to get ready. I've got to get my trailer ready. I've got to get the truck ready. I've got to work on the Transbrake in the truck. There's lots of these things that we got to get our ducks in a row for. So let's get started. All right, so first things first, let's get started on this Transbrake. Also, but whoa, before we get there, boy, let me tell you, I was digging around under the seat and I found one of these guys from high school, and let me tell you, I cracked it open and it smells just like high school in here. This is crazy. If you're not on the black ice, you're messing up. All right, anyway, down to business. So this is my precision shifter. I picked this up from a buddy of mine. He had bought it for his truck and ended up not needing it. So anyway, here it is. This thing is excellent. I love it. It shifts great. It, goes through all the gears just right, blah, blah, blah. But a neat feature about this guy is that it has a Transbrake built into the handle on it. And so for those of you that follow me on Instagram, you would have noticed yesterday I was playing around with some things and you saw me with an LED strip. So last week I took this thing to the track and I had an issue that I'm assuming is related to the Transbrake. I'm not exactly sure. There's nothing in the data log to suggest these things, but I have a very, very severe bog when coming off the brake, but it's intermittent. It only happens occasionally. It's not all the time. I can't chase it down. And one of the things that we suspect on the thing is that the brake is trying to reactivate like 3/10 into the run. So it's like, let go of the Transbrake, haul ass for 3/10 of a second, and then it's just like the nuts get taken out of the whole thing and it just pulls it down way below what we need. And it's very hard on the motor. It's obviously incredibly slow. It's not any kind of way to race. So I've wired up sort of an LED indicator to let me know when I'm on the Transbrake. So that'll do a couple things for me. It will let me know when I stage that, hey, the Transbrake is at least being told to be on. That way I know that it's not a issue with this here, or at least with the output leg in regards to the Holly. The Holly is at least telling the Transbrake to come on. So if for some reason it doesn't hold, I'll know where to start looking. I know that it's something past the Holly, that it's probably a trans-related issue and not something wiring or setup related. So, like I said, this thing has a Transbrake built into the handle, and it only works if you're in the manual 1 position, which is convenient because my Transbrake also only works in the manual 1 position. This thing has a Jake's D1 valve body, which is a first gear leave, no auto shift, but it does require you to be in manual 1. So here we go. So what you do is you pull up and you mash this guy down here on top and you squeeze the handle completely. If I can get the camera here, you'll see that little knob there goes down, and when that's all the way down right there, now we know this is the Transbrake position. So all I have to do then to go is let off, and it's time for some freedom after that. All right, so let's turn this key on. All right, keys on. We're in first gear. So I have my LEDs down there on the floor. They're there so that way I have a very visible indicator of when the brake is active, and also if the brake is trying to reactivate after I let go of the handle here. So I know that if I see those lights come on at any point that I'm not squeezing this guy, I know that the brake is coming on. So let's see what happens if I squeeze it. Oh, yep, there we go, all the way down. And then if you're wondering, this button here, most people generally put their Transbrake on a button, whereas with me, I just have it on the shifter handle. It's a little more convenient, a little faster, it's a little foolproof. There's basically no way I can be driving around town and just accidentally drop this thing down on the brake, while moving. There's no way. Whereas if it's on this button, anything could bump it, and you could be running into a lot of problems driving down the highway trying to grab your Transbrake. So anyway, we have this here. We're staged up. We're in the pre-stage. Foot on the wood down there, ready for some freedom, and then you just bump in. See a light flickering? That's literally the solenoid getting pulse width, and that's what's supposed to allow us to bump. But that's pretty much it. That's one thing that we worked on yesterday. So I'll just go ahead and go through like a whole mock pass with you. So I've pulled up, I've got the truck in here and I'm staged, and I'm on the Transbrake. Wow, foot on the wood, we're spooling, bump in, and then light comes on, we go. And then somewhere down the track at our designated RPM, bump it into second. And then generally in the 8th mile, I'm at the very, very, very top end of my second gear. I hardly ever feel the need to shift to third in the 8th mile. Maybe that'll change as I get faster and faster, but for now, the times I'm running, I got a couple hundred RPM left in second gear alone during the 8th. But if I needed to go to third, it's just another tap away and we're in third. So that's that. And then of course, when you pull off the track, you put it back in overdrive, pull around to the pit, and everything's a-okay. All right, and while we're in here, I'm just gonna go ahead and show you what sort of a mock pass for me would look like in regards to what I have to do in order to get the truck ready to race. So as I've told you in the very first video, this thing has a welded front diff in it. And in order to run that, you have to be able to lock and unlock that diff as needed. The factory actuator in these things were a thermal style, and they were not good at all. And this truck did actually have the upgraded electric one, but after that failed on me 2 races in a row and I lost, you know, the race in a bet, I got away with that. So I put a manual locker in here. It's a posi-lock, cable-driven actuator setup. Let me just show you. So when I pull up, when I go around the water box and I pull into the staging lanes and I'm pointed straight ahead, the first thing I do is I reach down here and I engage my front diff. I pull this red handle out. So now the front diff is locked, and you can feel it. Like when the steering wheel's going, you can feel it. Just immediately feel like I have no power steering and I better be pointed straight ahead. All right, so following that, reach down here, and it's in the 2 high position now, and all I do is pull it back to 4 high. So right now, we have a welded front diff, and we're locked in 4-wheel drive, so that means all 4 tires are locked to go the same exact speed all the time. So that means turning is very hard, that means traction is overly abundant, that means it is absolute party time. So following that comes, like I already went over, with the Transbrake. So we pull this guy up, we pull him down into D1, we get pointed straight ahead, we turn the pre-stage beams on, and we turn the brake on. Foot on the wood, bump in, and we win. We turn on the wind light, we go home, and all is good. All right, so if you're wondering how I triggered the LEDs to come on, basically when I'm on this shifter here, and this little pin is all the way down here, and it makes some contacts inside the shifter that send signals out on these wires, that talks to the Holly that I have behind the dash here. So I have the Holly back there, and it does a lot of magic. We aren't even gonna go into that. That's way over my head. But anyway, this guy does some magic. So this thing completes a ground circuit. The Transbrake that I have requires the pin B on the 3rd gear solenoid to be grounded in order to use the Transbrake. Now, Transbrakes are gigantic metal boxes with magic inside, and I don't even pretend to really understand a lot about them. But I know that that's what's gonna happen. So all I did with this guy is in my solid state relay, I gave the LED strip 12 volts on one side, and I gave it ground on the other only when the Holly is telling the Transbrake to be out. So it uses the same ground signal to trigger the lights as it does to trigger the brake. So that's how I know that the Holly is telling the brake to be on when the lights are on. So that way there's no miscommunication or accident. Unless it's something that's past the Holly, unless it's past, it would have to be something internal, valve body wise, that's disagreeing with what's going on. All right, and step 2 for this thing is that I've got to get me a fuel cell vent. I just installed, or really I just finished my 2-cell setup. I'm gonna go ahead and go over that a little bit for you guys now. So I've got to go down to the race shop here in town and get me a new vent for this thing, a rollover vent for this cell. This is my pump gas cell, and this is what my Spicy Boy cell. So this will have E85 in it, C16, maybe a mixture of the two, sort of what's ever available. Like I said, the truck is set up for flex fuel, so I can run E. We have not dialed the tune in on that yet, so we're just playing it safe with the C16. It's really the biggest downfall to C16 is that it's expensive. It sucks buying it, but it's an absolutely badass fuel. It's bulletproof, you can't hurt it, it's good to go. But I want to show you guys how easy it is for me to swap between the two. So these things, I have these Jiffy Lube fittings, or Jiffy type fittings. These are super simple, and all you do is you just, you just pop them off. And just that little bitty drop, that's the only drop of fuel that comes out. So this is the feed line from the pump gas cell. And in order to have race gas, all I do is pop it on that side. So you'll notice I have another line here. And this is just another feed line for when I'm on race gas, because this cell has 2 pumps in it. It has 2 Walbro 450s. This one has a single, but this has got 2 Walbro 450s, so I'll just pop that guy on there. And then I have a return in the back. And then other than that, it's just plug and unplug the fuel pumps. And that's, boom, that's it. We're done. That's Spicy Boy gas, pump gas. Drive it around however you want, haul ass however you want, easy. The next step to getting this thing ready to go race is that it needs a name. There's been lots of names kind of tossed around, thrown around, joked about throughout the years. But I sort of have one in mind, and I want to run it by you guys to see what you think. So like in the first video, I told you all about this being my great-grandpa's truck and how he had it and all the things that he did with it and the hole in the seat, blah, blah, blah. I sort of feel like it's only fair and only right to name the thing Clifford. That was his name. His name was James Clifford, J.C. Wilson, James Clifford Wilson. So I don't know, it's his truck, and it's going back. I'm feeling more and more nostalgic with it. So tell me, you guys, what you think. You think Clifford is the name that we're going to stick on this thing? Because nothing else so far is stuck. Everything else has kind of been bounced around, tossed around, joked about. But I think Clifford's the one. I want to hear what you guys have to say about it and see if you guys think that Clifford is going to be the new official name for the truck. I want to post a video and put the title of the truck, put the name of the truck in it, and you guys immediately know what's going on. So when I tell you guys, oh my God, we're taking Clifford to Truck Wars, you already know what the video's about. You already know what's going on. You guys, it sort of ties you into it, brings the story from the first video full circle back around. And if you have any other names, I want to hear them. Let's talk about them. So, but right now, I think Clifford is the one that's the sort of the bullseye I'm throwing at right here. All right, so the truck seems good to go. It's got oil in it, it's got trans fluid in it, the shifter's good, the LED's working, they're supposed to. Still have to go get the vent from the fuel cell like we talked about, but I'll go get that today when I go get some lunch. The very last step is, what am I gonna use to tow it there? Currently I have a gas burner truck, a Nissan Titan that I've been driving for like the past 7 years, but it's just not great at towing this guy, at towing whatever we decide to name this. It just gets awful gas mileage, it doesn't really like to stop with it, it's just not ideal for what I wanna do. So the next step is to find myself a tow truck, and I think I might have found the one. Let's go take a look at it. Oh man, listen to that baby purr. I don't know what y'all think. This is a 2002 Duramax. My brother-in-law does a lot of dirt track racing, and he has this older guy named Mr. Bill that helps him out. Mr. Bill is as nice of a guy as they come. He's had this truck since 2005. He bought it second. He's the second owner of the truck. And he just doesn't drive it anymore. He's had it sitting around for a long time. He has a newer truck that he's been driving for like the past 3 years, and this thing's just kind of been tucked off over the side out of the way. So he was over at the house last night, and I was talking about going to this race this weekend and needing to buy a truck and what I was looking at and what I wanted to spend. And he says, well, I got this old Duramax at home, and you want to check it out? You want to look at it? And of course I told him, yeah. So here's what he brought over. He's got this thing. It's really not in bad shape at all. It's got quite a few miles on it, but that's what happens when old men get truck. They drive them around. I'm not scared of the miles at all. Mr. Bill takes very good care of everything that he's got. So this is exactly how it was parked. It hasn't been washed. It hasn't been touched. It hasn't been anything. He pretty much brought it right over for me to check it out. So let's see if this thing will look. Dang. Not bad for 18 years old, I guess. So he told me he used to do some work out of this thing. He had some crews that he hauled around in it, mostly him and his wife. Going here and there. He ran up the road between where I live here and sort of the Pensacola area of Florida over to Gainesville, Florida. It's a couple hundred miles over there, but that's where a majority of the miles came from, making weekly trips across there, he said. I don't know what y'all think. It's for a pretty good deal. I might have to scoop this rig up. Oh yeah, let's take her for a spin. Ooh, she ain't no race truck. Alright, does okay. Seems pretty good. He said he drove it over here and he doesn't even know why he ever got rid of it, or why he ever even got the new truck. He said he should have just kept driving this and saved himself a payment. No haze, no smoke there. I'm all right. Sounds good. Feels good. No vibrations. Think we might be on to something here, boys. Yeah, I've been wanting to get myself into a newer truck for a while. I've been looking around, but I haven't found anything that has just felt worth the money to me. New trucks are just so darn expensive, and buying a truck like that would really cut into all the racing and things that I want to do with the black truck. It's you know, a truck payment is, or I should say the lack of a truck payment is what allows me to do all the things that I do with the black truck. It's what allows me to take it racing. It's what allows me to try new things, put new parts on it. So I don't know, it seems pretty good to me. It'll tow my other truck, it'll do the things I need it to do. It's a little bit of a pros and cons thing, but I think it's something I'm interested in.
Hey guys, so this is my dad's new truck. I'm gonna tell you guys a lot about it. So he sold that truck, so he got this one now. Very, very nice. I'm gonna open the doors for you. And so that's the seats and stuff. No. So I think that's good. I have a tour, you guys can look in there. But it's pretty nice. So yeah, and he got a little bit of money from it.